Both teams, so far, not choosing a hero that wasn't in game one. Will Team Liquid break this pattern that we're seeing? Surely they do.
They are thinking hard about it. Perhaps they might be looking at the Mirana and want it themselves. They could work it. You don't have the best setup this time around, unless you sneak in the Ogre Magi somewhere there, but we'll find out. Look, with, Wither opening Undying Leshrac is much more open. You can draft around it much better than you could Wither opening a while ago with the Drow Undying. So you have a lot more to work with here. Of course, the Centaur is banned out now as well, so you're not going to have that control, that durability that the hero brings for Liquid this time around. Interested to see how they replace that in their offlane. Perhaps they go for something like the Tidehunter, that is a pretty solid offlaner to have, gives you great control. Ravage is great. His spell kit is pretty darn good. You would have to gap close with a Drow to really be effective, but once you have a blink up, that shouldn't be a massive issue.
Well, Liquid are thinking quite heavily about this. 1 minute reserve time left. They'll go for the Vengeful Spirit, which is a hero we don't see very often anymore, but, well, there it is. Question is, I mean, you'd imagine it is a support Venge, but I'm wondering whether it could be a core. As Team Aster, they'll go into the Gyrocopter pick, and that's been being picked up very often. Just one of those heroes that's just so easy to farm on, effective throughout all stages of the game. Liquid now, how do they respond?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to this one. I mean, you have a lot of flexibility with that Venge, although, again, with a Lycan pickup, it seems pretty clear that it's probably going to be a support Venge, and we could see the Lycan played by SCCs. Oh, we could see the Lycan played up top by Mika. We could see it down mid as well. They could opt to do that. I think we have seen the Liquid lineup do that before. So you have that great push potential now with the Lycan, with the Leshrac. The Venge can shove out lanes quite nicely as well. It's going to be a bit rough. I think this time around you definitely do have a timer. You don't want to give too much space to Aster. Drow Ranger plus Gyrocopter is really potent if they do manage to ride out their greed. And, you still have that last pick to worry about from Aster. They get something that can steamroll with the Drow Roar as well. You will be put in a position where you don't want the Drow to get too much farm. It's just going to give too much value, especially since you have that Gyrocopter to pick up the slack anyway. Even if your Drow doesn't find too much farm, the aura is still going to work wonders for the Gyrocopter.
Certainly so, but I do like where Liquid's going with it as well, right? You've got that Vengeful Aura now in conjunction with the Lycan and all his creeps. Assuming he goes for the Helm of the Dominator, which is pretty standard, he could also pick up the Alpha Wolf, which is just so much amplified damage. More than likely he'd probably go for the Centaur though, but we'll see. One final ban out. Looks like the Kunkka will be the ban for Aster. And Liquid, what will you get rid of? It will actually be the Winter Wyvern, and now the Mars comes out. Hold on a minute. It's been a very long time since I've seen him pop out in the pro scene, John. What's going on here?
It just gives them a lot of that durability that they did have in the last game with the Centaur. Gives them great team fight as well, great control, keeping people trapped in that arena. Although it's not the hardest lockdown in the world, it can give you a nice area to fight. In conjunction with the Undying, it's going to be very hard to deal with a Tombstone if it's outside the arena. You don't really have natural, inbuilt blinks in Aster's lineup just yet. So you have no hero that can really just jump out in any case, and that is going to be a bit of an issue for Aster. Liquid's lineup this time around is much more cohesive. It definitely does work together quite well. It tells me that the aggression is certainly coming out early on for Liquid, so they're not going to relent in this pressure. They're going to try to get as much possible done with their Venge, with their Lycan, with their Lesh, trying to win out their lanes, find that push early on, try to really shut down the map here. Aster, they can't afford to lose too much map control because you've got a Gyrocopter Drow Ranger. These guys need farm. They need to ramp up a bit, especially at a Gyro. He has great laning phase, but he maybe kind of peters out in the mid game, then shoots up again late. So you've got to buy that time for Aster if they don't get that rolling start. And Liquid is going to make that very hard to achieve.
Aster, final pickup. Perhaps a bit unaware of how to deal with this hero. It's again, just not something you see that often. Oh, they'll go for the axe themselves. Fair enough. So Axe more than happy to be in that arena if he needs to be. Even happier if he's outside of it and he can just find the backlines of the side of Liquid. Still, both drafts do seem pretty well rounded. Liquid obviously just going for this kind of push strategy. They want to finish the game as fast as possible. Aster are more than happy to drag it out if they possibly can. Keep that farm up, and the Gyrocopter will just be a menace to deal with in the late game. Though, John, of course, I will ask you once again, looking at both these drafts and ignoring the teams, which draft's a little bit better?
I'd have to say I like Liquid's draft a bit more. The aggression is much more tied in together this time around with the heroes they do have. The Morris is a bit of a question mark because, again, it has tapered off for good reason. It just kind of lost steam after the nerfs it received. It can work out here quite well. It gives you that control you want. You've got great push with Leshrac Lycan, great control with Taiga's Vengeful Spirit, and of course, it allows you to shove the lanes that much faster, stack easily as well with a Scream. So you've got a lot of options there for Liquid. Aster. They've got ways to counterplay that. I think that Axe last pick really seals it in quite nicely, but they need that space to get going. You need farm in the Axe, you need farm the Drow, you need farm the Gyrocopter, whereas Liquid, they only really need farm in the Lycan for the most part, and as long as they get that done, they can start to melt away at these towers.
That is certainly true. Of course, we will get into this game number 2. Liquid looking to try and 2-0 the side of Aster, and Aster, of course, trying to force this to a game number 3 if they can. Going to be a lot of pressure on them this game to try and ensure that this Lycan does not get out online, and in fact, it is going to be Koifa on the Lycan. So they're going to throw the Lycan mid. Will be the safe lane, Leshrac being played by Mike. And of course, up at the top lane, we do see Boxy on the Mars. For the side of Aster, Chuan will actually be on the Gyrocopter mid lane, and so they will put the safe lane Drow being played by SCCC. Of course, we will see the off lane XXS Axe. So they are already going to try and get a little bit aggressive for these bot boundaries on the side of Aster. And Liquid will basically be able to get free boundaries up at the top lane. Looks like there'll be no contention there. Like Mike, gonna get found out, gets lifted up as well. XXS with the Battle Hunger. Mike being slowed down quite a bit. He throws out the Split Earth just before that 4th stack comes out from Fade, but he is still in a lot of trouble as XXS. One more right click will do the job, and he is gonna find the first blood very early on, and now they might even find Insania. Though, looks like the Undying will be a bit too tanky. He has 16, in fact, make that 24 stolen strength. But first blood, 2 boundaries down at the bot lane. Aster's going to be very, very happy about that.
Definitely so. He really did stack the slows there. And you have that Orb of Venom on Fade. You also had the Battle Hunger coming out. And of course, you had the Curse going as well. So really easy to land at as soon as you get a couple of right clicks going. Unfortunate for Liquid, but this is a good start for Aster. As long as they can keep that aggression up and apply that pressure in the heroes they need to slow down, they can certainly find their way back into the series here in Game 2. Going to be interesting to see this mid lane matchup. I think that's one that we don't see too often. The Lycan Gyro, certainly not the most common mid matchup, but we have seen these heroes down mid before.
You'd assume, though, that it would just be even trading between these two, right? Like, although Chuan can get aggressive with the Rocket Barrage if he so wishes, Koifa, once he has a few levels up in that Feral Impulse, it is quite hard to force him out.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy time to really harass out a Lycan. And one thing you have to remember as well, with those Rocket Barrage, Koifa has some good units to soak up the damage. The Wolves themselves just naturally mitigate the potential of that spell.
It kind of goes both ways, though. Chuan can always farm up those Wolves as well if Koifa's not too careful. And that's exactly what Chuan tries to do. Doesn't quite get one. It does make it so Koifa can't really use them at the moment. Top lane, looks like Fade will end up going down, though they did find Boxy on the Mars as well, so Fade giving his life away. They'll find the position 3 of Liquid. Another great trade for Aster. I mean, considering their lanes, you wouldn't expect to be going this well already, but they're making it happen.
They certainly are. This is, again, a really good start for Aster. As long as they can apply that pressure and keep it going, it's going to be an easy time. Although,
Fade does have, well, can just run out, but he only has the Curse of Avanus right now. Bulwark will not be enough to take down Fade on the Abaddon, so he will manage to get out of there safely. It looks like he'll just tango himself back up to full HP. But he does get scouted again, and he's going to be very afraid of that spear coming out from Boxy. He does latch onto a tree, and in fact, he does cancel the salve of Fade. Beautiful spear coming out from Boxy once again. That's going to make Fade's life a lot harder on this Abaddon.
yeah, he's going to run out of regen fairly quickly. Only has one tango left. So he's got to play his cards a bit carefully here. He has no deny potential with no levels in Miscall just yet. So he's not going to be able to get that done for his team as well.
Looking at every lane, I mean, so far, everything's pretty much even. No team really winning out every lane or really won at all. I mean, you could argue the mid lane was being won by Koifa, but it's a 14-14. Chuan's got a double damage as well. It does end up wearing off, but it looks like he is keeping up quite nicely with this Lycan. Looks like both teams will be rather satisfied with just continuing to trade farm with each other for now.
Yeah, it's certainly a decent spot to be in. You are trying to find as much as possible on these cores. You don't really have the most outright aggressive lanes possible. I mean, they trade quite well. We did see those early kills, but there is a bit of a slowdown period, and just both teams trying to find out EXP and gold. I think the big thing here is that XXS is going to have a better time in the Axe. So he's going to hit his timings much better, and that could cause issues for Liquid if the Axe does get an early Vanguard up and going, and then the Blink or whatever else he may opt to choose. You're not going to have an easy time bursting down his hero.
And he'll just continue to stick into that bot lane. Of course, Mika is having a decent time on the Leshrac. 16 last hits, 2 denies. Not really struggling whatsoever, apart from that first blood. Meanwhile, mid lane Koifa gets very low, but does have a haste rune up, so he will be able to get out into the safety of his tier 1 tower. And again, with that level 2 Feral Impulse, he can just maintain this lane. He will just passively regen up, especially with those tangos active. He'll just get back to farming, though Chuan has slowly but surely taken over this mid lane. 26 last hits, 5 denies in comparison to the 24 and 10. But again, it is just very, very even. Koifa, I mean, if things get from bad to worse, he can always just rotate to the jungle if he really needs to.
Yeah, he is in a decent spot anyway in terms of itemization. He's got his Bassi up, his headdress up, his regen is just going to kick in. It's going to be very hard to shove him out. I mean, he's back to 600 HP anyway. So he just dips back in, starts farming once more. Really just going to be a bit of a trade here in terms of farm from both heroes.
XXS could be in a bit of danger, but no, they don't have any way to lock him down on this axe, and he'll just salve up. A bit of a scuffle over those bounty runes, but it will be a 3-for-1 trade. Liquid finding that the advantage this time around. And Tiger will make a bit of a rotation to this mid lane as the Venge. Looks like Chuan does actually get a nice little scan out and does find Insania rotating him, but he backs off now as well. You've got the wolf form on Koifa, but he doesn't really have the mana for it. Could always pop the mango though. Does need that magic missile to come in from Chuan before they try for that engagement, and even then it's still going to be a very hard kill to go for.
Yeah, the one big thing saving Chuan here is that ward. Of course, he spotted out that rotation from Taiga, and that's just a bit of time wasted from the Venge. Still, that did force him to back off at the very least for one wave. That just slows down his farm just a tad bit.
Thank you.
It looks like XXS is starting to struggle a little bit on the axe in the offlane. Still has very good farm though, but is having to bring out a lot more regen than he'd like to. Interesting kind of build he's going for. He kind of switched it up, and rather than going for that Vanguard, he's going to go for the Bracer into the Blink, it seems. Whether he sticks with that is another question altogether, but looks like Aster are kind of just changing their game plan. They want XXS to be a bit more aggressive if necessary. I suppose he is going to need it, because they understand that Liquid is going to start running at them very, very soon. especially once you've got that Helm of the Dominator up on Koifa. Definitely don't want to not have a blink available on the Axe when the time comes.
Yeah, he's going to be a key part in slowing down the push from Lycan specifically. Turning those minions against the Lycan is going to be a big thing. In fact, even the Tombstone kind of helps him out just because the attacks do kind of count as a proc chance for the counter Helix. So having that early blink does allow him to expand his presence a lot more. I do like that switch up. It does mean he's not going to be farming the jungle too well, though. So he's got to win out in this lane somehow.
Well, he has done bad for himself. I mean, he's pretty close in terms of last hits with Mickey on the Leshrac. He has been left alone now. Insania has just left the lane. Meanwhile, mid lane, you do see Liquid once again trying to wrap around and find a kill attempt onto Chuan. Only problem is, though, he has Baboka and they actually scout out with the courier. So Chuan going to just hide in the tree line. Call down will be there, but the wolf form is there from Koifa and now the Arena of Blood. But they're completely surrounded here, Liquid. They can't finish the job off and they may lose Boxy in the process. In fact, he will be able to get out of there safely, but they do not find the kill they came for.
Yeah, that's a massive set of rotations to try to stop that gank. Aster does understand that the farm of this Gyrocopter is going to be key. They commit a lot of resources to stop anything big from happening, which does open up the side lanes just a bit, especially for Mikhail, though he could be in a spot of trouble. A lot of heroes walking down to his area, they do back off in the end.
Looks like they're just going to get back to harassing XXS a bit. Pulse Nova Tombstone, they're going to try for a kill attempt here on XXS. They know nobody can TP to help him out. In fact, he's just dead. He doesn't have anything really. The hood to block out all that magic damage, and Mike, realizing this, does take an easy kill. So they will get near Chuan on the gyro, and Insania will spot him out just barely. Chuan will actually follow. The cooldown will be there, but Mike, he'll just throw out the Split Earth, and they will just back off to safety.
Yeah, that's a interesting use of that spell. Would have been much nicer to maybe expand that even on a camp, just to get a farm going, but does apply the pressure he needs to let those heroes back off. And does look like a bit of a lane swap out. They are giving Baboka a little bit more time, turn EXP down mid, but the same goes for Liquid. Taiga's taking up that mid lane now, trying to get some EXP going.
Oh, here comes Mickey though. Boka gonna get a lift off. Chuan is there with the homing missile as well, but it's not really going to reach him in time.
Ooh, XXS.
Top lane, Arena of Blood being used up, and XXS does end up going down. Koifa, he did get fairly low, but it doesn't matter. He has his creeps there to take down the tier 1 tower as well. They'll force out the fortification. It looks like he won't even force the creeps back. Rather, he'll just wait for the fortification and just go straight back in. It's also salved up, so he's basically back up to 4 HP. And that is going to be the first tier 1 of the game going down. This time around, it will be Liquid taking it.
Yeah, it's almost a similar story to Game 1 in the fact that the aggression is there from Liquid early on. They are finding the objectives they want, but here's they have, I'd say the mid-tier 1 is a much juicier target, but if they can get some chip damage on that tier 2, force a response, I think that's a big enough win to be happy with.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
Look, mid lane. Could be a bit of an engagement as Liquid are forcing that tier 1 in the mid lane. They're not going to wait around. They've got the draft for it. Aster not going to make it as easy as they'd want, but there's a swap coming out from Tiger straight onto the Abaddon, and he just gets bursted down. XXS now going to jump in. He doesn't have the greatest initiation, but he gets a call off, and now the call down coming in. Still another swap from Tiger. Arena of Blood as well. They will lose the Venge, but that is all they're going to lose in the end. Still Aster, they also end up protecting their tier 1 mid tower. It looks like they'll be happy with that. They'll get back into the jungle and keep farming up.
That does give Liquid a chance to reset and maybe try again, knowing that a couple of spells were used, probably not enough to make them happy, but they did force the rotations out. They should be feeling a bit safer on those side lanes. And while all of that is happening, of course, Koifa is just up top, getting his farm going and shoving in that tier 2 just a bit. So you are getting something from the map with all these rotations. Not as much as you'd want, but it's still something for Liquid.
Definitely is. Looking over to that gyrocopter, Chuan looks like he's actually going to go for a BKB rush. So perhaps feeling like he needs to be able to fight early on. Just going to go straight into that BKB. Definitely very effective up against that Leshrac, especially. Meanwhile, bot lane, Insania getting speared, but he'll survive. Both teams just fighting over a double damage rune. I kind of wonder with that BKB on the Gyro, I mean, is that the way to go? Is it worth rushing the BKB in this kind of game for Chuan?
We have seen that a couple of times from a couple of different players before. I'd say it's a 50-50 based off memory. If you can really maximize that early BKB, really be aggressive once that item's up, it can make the difference. If you're just going to go back to farming, well, there are much more efficient items to get that going.
Well, Koifa could get caught out here top lane. Nice smoke coming out, but Aster, Koifa, he's not aware of this. Lift is there, and now the call as well, and Koifa is just a sitting duck. Aster will be the one to pick up the kill. Excuse me, XXS is the one to pick up the kill on the Axe. And so a 4-4 now. They find a very important kill on that Lycan. And every kill you get on this Lycan just slows down the game even more. And it gives Aster more of a chance to be able to pull it back later on.
It definitely does. They are finding the key targets in these ganks. As long as they manage to keep that efficiency up while still maintaining their farm, they could really just overtake the game at some point. But I don't think they're getting quite enough. Same could be said for Liquid. They've gotten one tier 1, and that's it so far. Aster has been very willing to rotate in to defend that mid tier 1. I think that's really important. So it's a good move from them to just maintain that map control. And so far it has been paying off.
Koifa. Risky positioning from him, XXS. He does have a blink available and does blink in, but doesn't actually use the call. Meanwhile, mid, Tiger, just scouting out with that split earth, not really connecting on anybody. They are slowly ticking away at that tier 1 mid tower at the very least, but Aster are defending, and now the call doesn't actually connect on anybody. Barely missing both the Venge and the Undying. But Aster, they do hold on to that tier 1. That's going to allow them to get back into the jungle and keep farming up on this Gyro. And at the very least, Chuan is getting fairly close now to that BKB. He just needs the recipe up.
Yeah, it's a good timing for him. Fairly quick BKB. You are starting to see Koifa build up, though. He does have his Necro 1, so he's just going to be building up towards that Necro tree, and then the push just gets kind of ridiculous after that.
Thing is, though, I mean, you look at the top 2 net worths on the board right now, John. I mean, it's the Gyro and the Drow. So all this push attempt coming out from Liquid, I mean, it has allowed Aster to just keep farming up on these cores. That could be a cause for concern, because they'll be up and ready to fight a lot earlier than Liquid would have liked with this draft.
That is going to be one thing that should put Liquid on the edge. They have given a lot of space towards Aster. We expected their lineup to be a bit more aggressive, and they certainly have been. It's just not been the most successful fights for him. So, again, Aster's been holding their ground quite well. The map is still fairly even in terms of control. Liquid has not managed to get that control on the map on just yet, but it's almost a similar story to Game 1. It did take a while for Liquid to finally start taking out those towers fast. It looks like they are just kind of whiling away, trying to get a couple of key items first before jumping the gun.
Boxy has the blink, looks to jump in, has the arena up as well, but XXS gonna barely miss out. The arena is there, but he's surrounded by 3 heroes right now. Where's the help? It's not really coming in as Boxy, though. He's just man fighting everyone right now. Nobody really able to kill him off, and here comes the cavalry. Mickey jumping in, though. Insania is gonna be the one to fall, it seems, on the Undying, and now they found Mickey as well on the Leshrac. Nice swap, but it is not gonna save the core. And that's 3 going down for the side of Liquid. And that blink in to the Arena of Blood, I mean, it was just a bit of a shock, John. There was nobody there to help him out.
Yeah, that was, I guess, preemptive from Boxy to try to get that tier 1 secured. it does come at a very hefty cost. You also gave away the Arena of Blood towards Baboka as well, which slowed down the follow-up from Liquid and just really caused havoc in that fight. So Aster again playing their cards quite well. They did lose their mid-tier 1, so that is still a slight win for Liquid in terms of control, but it cost them a lot of heroes that they'd rather not lose, especially Mika. They really can't afford to lose out in the Slush. They need to get its farm going. After game 1, when Aster had a slow start in SCCC Slush, surely they'd understand that you want a good run with your Lesh. You want him to be able to get his power spikes, get his items on time, and start being a menace in these fights before the BKBs come out, which, you know, it's unfortunate because Chuan does have his BKB flying out now.
Another nice kill coming out from Aster. They'll find Insania. John, why is there a healing salve on the floor? Bot Batteroon spot for the dire side. Why is there a healing salve just sitting there?
I don't know, Mike, but apparently it's not important in the game. That's why it was dumped there, Mike. It's just garbage.
Whew, that's upsetting to hear, John. I mean, they do so much for us and we just dump them on the floor like that. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah,
Anyway.
well, that's how it is, Mike.
Koifa could be called out here. XXS looking for a blink in on the axe. But Koifa, he does get called up. And now the call down from Chuan. Rocket Barrage as well. It's a hell of a lot of damage. But again, Tiger is there with the swap. Still, though, they're controlling him up. And now Boxy gets the Arena of Blood. Fade will be okay on the Abaddon, at least for now. But not for long. Magic Missile comes in and they will pick up the kill. Great retaliation coming out from Liquid. They will not lose anything and they will pick up a support on the side of Aster.
Yeah, they do manage to expend the 10-second BKB charge from Chuan as well. She's down to 9 seconds. Not the best first use of the BKB. I am glad to see that he is playing aggressive with that BKB pickup though. So in the end, as long as he keeps using that item as soon as it's off cooldown, it is worthwhile. Although you really want to find a kill with it.
Oh, Boxy, he found the gyro, spears him back, and Chuan, he was very far forward. He had no vision across the river, and with that, Necro 3 book is up on Koifa as well. They'll go straight into that Roshan pit. And without that gyrocopter buyback being available, I mean, this is just a free Roshan for the side of Liquid.
Yeah, it's going to be rough to contest this one. You are relying on XXS to jump in, but he opts to call Insania instead.
Well, Insania will end up dropping. Roshan getting low, but not quite low enough as Fade. Gonna run in and give vision now. Borrowed time being expended. Looks like they will end up finding Baboka. Now they're in of blood once again from Boxy. He found all three of them. The call is there, but doesn't matter. It looks like it will not, as it's going to be a full team wipe coming out for the side of Liquid. They'll lose the Lesh track, but who the hell cares? You've got a Roshan to take. And Aster, I'm kind of shocked they even took that team fight. They didn't have the gyro available.
It just felt like a really sloppy response from Aster. He already had XXS jump in to the Undying first, so you had no way of cleanly getting into the pit. You had the Abaddon walk up to the pit as well, and it just kind of fell apart there. It almost feels like they didn't expect the full force of Liquid to be in there, but you have a Lycan that you've kind of left alone for the past, what, 10 minutes? He has his Necrobook trees up. This is when the Lycan gets ridiculous. You like to point this out every single time, but this is when those towers start melting, Mike.
They definitely do, John. They definitely do. Koifa, we'll see when he does intend to start pushing down more towers. Looks like for now they're just satisfied with trying to take down Aster. And in fact, they might find Baboka here as the spear does connect. Mika, he will end up finding the axe XXS. He has a blade mail at the very least to drag out this just a bit, and the team will be there though. Another Arena of Blood latching there from the Mars. Where's the follow-up damage though? Mika looks like he will not get it out. Boxy, he just wants to get the hell out of there, and Tiger again with the swap just in the nick of time. And so Aster, they'll lose the Rubik, they'll back off. They won't find any form of punishment for the side of Liquid. And I've got to tell you, John, all props to Boxy on this Mars so far. Really making it hard for Aster to even take a team fight.
Yeah, it's been working out quite nicely, and these team fights haven't, even although...
Yeah, they found Insania on the Undying, so a nice little support pickup for the side of Aster. I suppose that does kind of even out that last team fight, though as I say that they found the Drown, that is definitely not what you want to give away here if you are Aster. They'll TP in Chuan, they'll save the day from SCCC, TP, Boxy will make it out of there. Homing missile does not fly out fast enough. And the damage just was not there. Oh my.
Oh, that was a perfect TP coming out from both of them. Boxy right on the edge of dying. Just really playing on the edge here. Certainly is paying off. They did waste a couple of TPs on that to get down to the bot lane. So you are buying a lot of space for Koifa to build up. Again, he's very close to his AC now. And that's going to be another tool that will allow him to be a much bigger nuisance in these fights.
Well, while he's getting that AC, Chuan's going for that Maelstrom on the gyro, so trying to get that farm up once again. As Triple C has the Hurricane Pike up, going into that BKB next. Just trying to ensure he can stay alive to get those right clicks off. Still though, Koifa could just run at you with all those creeps and just demolish whatever he really wants right now.
Under attack.
Aster, what's the plan here? They're sticking as 5 for now. They do have a smoke available in Maboka, but it looks like they won't try to go for anything quite yet.
Structures are fortified.
Or at least XXS will find the dominated creep there, so he does get a fair bit of gold out of that.
Yeah, one thing with Aster right now that is kind of concerning for me is the amount of early BKBs coming out. We already saw one on Chuan, of course, but we are seeing a BKB come out on SCCC as well. And again, if he's not going to be present in these fights, or if they're not going to force the aggression out, then the BKB is really just a wasted passive item. You've got to maximize that if you buy it early. Otherwise, it's really just, what, a counter initiation item you get to bail yourself out?
Look at Boxy though, John, mid lane. He's by himself right now. The rest of his team have smoked up and are wrapping around. I thought Boxy was trying to bait out the side of Aster. It wasn't quite the case, but it looks like Aster thought it was. And Liquid, they'll run the other way, still looping around their own jungle. They will draw out a nice little circle there that does actually find the side of Aster. XXS will show himself for a second, does pick up a haste rune. Looks like that smoke will end up leading to nothing though.
Yeah, a bit of a shame, but the coordination did feel a bit wonky there. You don't have the best wards down bot as well to spot out any hero, so kind of curious location to dive into as Liquid. Nonetheless, that is time for Aster to try to build up again. I believe, is that the BKB? Yeah, it's the BKB up on SCCC. So they should have a bit more confidence in these fights. They are grouping up. It probably is their turn to smoke.
Yeah, not to mention they got the Maelstrom now on Chuan as well. It all just came out. So this smoke could be great for them. They know where the side of Liquid is as well, as they are pushing down that bot T1 tower as we speak. But look at the positioning here from Boxy. He's ready to go for this. He won't quite break the smoke though. Aster, they'll loop around even further. They find Mike on the Leshrac, and well, he's really got no hope of surviving this one. He does go down. That's a great pickup coming out from Aster. Liquid will immediately TP out after finding that T1 tower though. Courier going down as well.
Yeah, they lost their courier. That was a blink dagger on as well, so pretty big loss for Aster. Gonna take a big utility tool away from them. Still though, they find that one nice kill onto the Lesh. At this point, is it still worth shutting down that Lesh though? We saw the same thing happen game number 1. SCCC on his Lesh just kind of was shut down anyway. I don't think you're going to be too upset as Liquid, because the Leshrac can still get that damage onto the towers. The BKBs are there in the team fights now anyway, so you're not going to be doing the damage anymore. It's really riding off the Mars and the Lycan to get the work done.
Yeah, well that Mars is about to have a Desolator up soon. Once you have that in conjunction with the God's Rebuke, it's a hell of a lot of damage that comes out from this hero. He's already critting for over 500 damage before the Deso. So Boxy could really be the key here to ensure Liquid's victory, but Aster definitely don't want to allow it. Looking back at Chuan, he's going for a Satanic Nail on that Gyrocopter. Fairly standard stuff. SCCC is going to be rushing that Butterfly straight after going after the BKB. And Aster as expected. They do intend to drag this out to the late game as much as they possibly can. Though you've got to admit, Liquid just don't seem concerned. They've still got 2 tier 2 towers on the map that they need to take, but they just don't seem to care very much about their timings. They just seem confident enough to take this late with Aster.
Yeah, we saw that in the last game as well. You'd figure a Drow Husker lineup would require you to really go early, but they held out until 52 minutes and 50 plus minutes and won on that one. So timing probably isn't a major concern for Liquid. They understand that they can run the drafts they make. They can understand they can play toe to toe with Aster. So they're just going to take their time as well. If there's no opportunity to find anything, why risk it? Just get back to farming up. You're going to get the Desolator up on Koifa soon as well. And once that's up, the towers will really start to melt.
Double Deso coming out from Liquid. Of course, Roshan, we're about to find out when he will respawn. About 10 seconds away. Because Koifa definitely wants to try and get that secondary Roshan. You'll see the Alpha Wolf coming out now on Koifa as well. So you've got those double auras coming out from that Alpha Wolf as well as the Vengeful Spirit. It's a lot of added damage towards all those units that Koifa does control. And the Roshan Don is going to be a very, very early one. Only 15 seconds left for it to respawn, in fact.
Yeah, that's going to be a major point of contention for both teams. It does look like Liquid is much better set up for that one. They have better wards. They've got sentries down to spot any obs wards drop as well. You've got that scouting capability with the Lycan Wolves anyway, so it's going to be a very easy rush for Liquid to take, but you have to respect the power Aster has in these tight spots. One good call from XXS could cause all the issues in the world for Liquid here.
Well, they scattered out the Roshan. They know it's there. Aster, not so sure. They haven't really walked into the pit yet, but you can imagine that they probably are well aware of this being up. Looks like Boxy up at the top lane, just forcing in that creep wave. He's in position to jump in if he really wants to, but looks like he just wants to keep this creep wave pushed in, ensure Aster do not feel comfortable sticking around that Roshan pit. That's exactly what he does. God's Rebuke again, blinks out, and just TPs straight back towards his top shrine. I suppose at least the homing missile will give some vision as to where he's gone. Aster will maintain this high ground. They will not allow the Roshan to be freely taken. In fact, they will smoke up.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
Line being drawn out, they're going to go straight behind the side of Liquid. Liquid, though, seemingly understanding what's going on. They are just hugging their own tier 1 tower. Koifa going to try and scout out with the Wolves. Liquid not really giving them the opening they want. XXS smoke broken. They'll jump on a Tiger. That's definitely not the target they would have liked. In fact, they're going to go for a team fight here, Liquid. They've already lost their bench, but the split earth is there from Mickey. And now Boxy. He jumps in with the Arena of Blood once again. He catches 3. XXS, he's in massive trouble. He'll go down on the axe. Now Fade's gone as well. Chuan, his BKB wears out. Meanwhile, SCCC goes down to Koifa on the Lycan. And it's a full team wipe once again. And Aster, John, they just can't find anything on this map.
Yeah, it's rough. They go for the Venge. You'd think that's an easy target. That tier 1, allowing them to TP in, find that counter fight. Even the Ags on the Venge causing them a lot of issues. Just having that extra magic missile coming out and the Wave of Terror dropping the armor, along with all the magic, all the minus armor that you have in Liquid anyway, just kind of takes that fight away. We were talking about the BKBs earlier on. I mean, Aster, they are trying to pump that aggression out. I don't think those BKBs are doing much for them at this point.
Certainly not. With that, tier 3 tower under siege. Fortification is there, but it will not last long enough. And they've still got time to take a Rax if they really want to. You've got the cheese, you've got the Aegis. Diabolic Edict popped as well, and yeah, they're definitely going to go for that. Meanwhile, Boxy has the Aghanim Scepter up now. Lift up, Boxy. We'll just God's Rebuke and walk away. That Ags is going to be somewhat concerning for the side of Aster.
Oh yeah. All the ags up on Liquid is just really a lot of utility going onto them. So you've got a lot of ways to really take these fights. All the tools in the world for Liquid now available. 16k net worth lead, 15 to 13 at 32 minutes in. It's getting hard for Aster to find that space they need. Those early BKBs, I don't want to be picking on them, but it really slowed down their farm a bit. I don't think they took enough fights to justify these BKBs. In fact, you take a look at SCCC, his is still on a 9-second charge. On Chuan, his is on the 8, so they've only used it a couple of times each. And they haven't really been finding those kills, so... Yeah, from that point, it's just... It does slow down their timing a fair bit, and they are paying for it now.
Yeah, mind you, every time they've used those charges, they haven't won the team fights. So, even if you wanted to, consider the fact that perhaps they were useful, they really weren't. It's very unfortunate here for Aster, but they've got to try and continue this farm, continue catching up. As Liquid have a 17k net worth lead now. Aster, they'll try their best to push all these waves back and keep this game going as long as possible. You've still got a Drow and a Gyrocopter. Everything is still available for Aster to pull off this win. It certainly seems to get harder and harder as time goes on. It looks like Liquid will start setting up for that bot T2 tower. It is the final outer tower standing for the side of Aster now. It's going to be taken very easily here by Mickey. There won't be any kind of defense coming out. They'll even take the bot shrine as well. Why the hell not?
Yeah, so the entirety of the outer map for Aster is just not safe to farm in anymore. They still have some pretty decent vision up top, I guess, watching that one entrance, but that's it. And as this time goes on, you're just not going to have control there at all. So that's going to make contesting the Roche much harder, finding that farm much harder. And those are things they really desperately need. They're not quite up there yet. They certainly need a lot more to get big.
Swap Tiger. Will force out the BKB from Chuan, and now XXS does use the call in this venge, but he's still alive throughout all this. Now Mickey, and there's the arena once again from Boxy. He found 4 of them this time around. Mickey just running straight in the back with the Pulse Nova. All BKBs being forced out, but it does not matter. It's physical damage coming out from Koifa and Boxy, and it's GG.
Oh. I don't know how many people expected this turnout, especially considering their performance in the interim between qualifiers and the major. But Liquid has shown up today. Liquid, after that disappointing performance in ESL 1, they show up here in MDL. And they manage to 2-0 Aster. And they do manage to get themselves a good start in day 1, Mike. Props to them. Aster, they've got a couple games more. They certainly have to try to step up their game a bit. Has been rough, but Liquid, they are looking pretty on point here.
Certainly so. Of course, John, that is it for us tonight, and I believe that's it for the BTS 3 stream. For anyone wanting to watch some more MDL Chengdu Major, please go ahead and go to the BTS 1 and BTS 2 streams for more games. Of course, before we go, John, you've got to give all props to Boxy on that Mars. Like, it's very hard to make a hero like this look that good. But every single time a team fight started, he always found at least 3 heroes. And he's basically the sole reason that Aster found the necessity to get those BKBs that early on.
Yeah, it's really well played by Box. I mean, the hero really tapered off for a reason, but when Boxy played it there, it didn't look like it was nerfed at all, Mike.
Absolutely not. With that, John, it's been a pleasure casting with you as always. That's it for us. It is MLP Dota and John X Fire. Follow on Twitter if you want to support us. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of the major. We'll see you guys next time.